There we go.
Now, Rachel, I'm not sure you picked up that we have a presentation this morning.
Yes, we arranged it last week.
Okay, very good. I wasn't sure you had that. And Jim LaBelle has to leave early, so maybe we might have the presentation first, then we do our business.
Sounds good. Just to check, nobody else has any really urgent emergency type stuff going on. Okay, presentation first. Go
Go
Ryan.
ahead, Jim.
Interested,
Okay, so I guess I'm Jim LaBelle. I'm a professor at Dartmouth College. Work a lot with David. And the last, we've had a student working with us for the last 6 months, looking at data from the eclipse period. We took a bunch of data David might have shared with you over time. We took data from 5 different sites in northeastern United States during the eclipse, the April eclipse, April 24 eclipse. So Sophia Wong, who's about to come on board on the online here, is our student who's been working on that for about 6 months with me and doing analysis, which she will describe, and culminated with a video we've made. So Sophia, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, of course. Let me share my screen and we'll get on our way. Okay.
I should say Sophia is a freshman at Dartmouth.
Yes, I am. Yes, I was a professor with all of this spring term. So let's present. Okay. So the research that Professor LaBelle and I worked on was about radio wave propagation during eclipse totality. And essentially, I'm sure everyone knows, but um radio wave or the way that radio waves travel is through the ionosphere. And during nighttime conditions, radio waves can travel over the horizon, and during daytime conditions, they cannot because of the heightening and the lowering of the ionosphere. So essentially, during the eclipse, there are nighttime conditions induced in the ionosphere during the daytime. And so what Professor LaBelle and I did is that we tried to track these ionospheric alterations. And we did this, or let me get to the goals first. So the goals were to identify the station locations, to visualize the changing intensity throughout the eclipse. And we want to prove that this is like a good pilot study for future examination for ionosphere or for radio wave propagation during totality, because there are many applications that it can be used for, such as testing the supermodels. Um, so let's get into the methodology for how we got these locations. So we used many spectrograms from, I guess, past students and past professors who worked on this. And so essentially, for this example, we're going to use Juliet. Yes, Juliet. So we chose a band of frequency. This one was 1510 kilohertz. And then we examined the entire band. But for this one, for this example, let's choose the signal right here. So we most importantly noted the on and off time and the intensity. And in some cases, we also noted the offset as well. So for example, on the y-axis, that would be about a 1.5. There would be, yeah, a 1.5 offset over here. And so specifically, let's focus on intensity first. So we then went to the FCC website, where the FCC tells you all of the possible radio stations at a specific frequency. So we identified all of those locations, and we plotted those station locations relative to the AMD sites. So over here in the map, you can see that the AMDs have a they're like 100-mile radius, a radius. Yeah, they're 100-mile wide with a red outline, and the radio stations are the blue dots. And so essentially we try to visualize the spread of the AMDs on the stations, and then we determined, okay, the closest stations generally, not always, but generally they should be showing a higher intensity for this AMD station. So this blue dot, like right below Chicago, turns out to be Joliet. And it makes sense because if we look back to this slide, um, Joliet is closest to AMD5, which is Urbana-Champaign, and it's most intense here, and it's also the closest with it. Yeah, it's the closest to that AMD site. So it makes sense, and we have reason to believe that it is like the signal is in fact coming from Joliet. But as a second check, we also looked at offsets using the MWList website. And the purpose of this is to check the actual offset, which is given in this second column, with the observed spectrogram offset, which, as I said, it was about 1.5 hertz in this example. But for this one, there was no really good offset given exactly. Just and so we ended up using the intensity, and we determined that by giving enough information. And so then we repeated this process for all signals, identifying as many as possible. We ended up identifying 10 out of the 75 signals that we analyzed. And then we decided to visualize the changing intensity. We first wanted to like draw connections between each station and all the AMDs on the map. So the stations are blue and the AMDs are red. And then using this like web of connections, we made several plots. So we essentially plotted all these connections and their intensities, or specifically the radio wave intensities, between the AMD that the AMD was detecting from the station at each 30-second interval, which is how often the spectrogram was getting data. And so we did that for 8UT to 4UT, and we compiled all of these photos into a GIF. And so for background, red means high intensity, green is medium intensity, blue is low intensity. And so these are just 6 snapshots of you will see in a few seconds, which is a GIF. But essentially, our video shows that at AUT, or the graph will show nighttime conditions. So there's going to be high intensity signals, and it's going to transition into daytime, which means low intensity signals. And then at the beginning of the clips, you're going to see these like a flash of red wave, a flash of red essentially. It kind of goes over quick, but you'll see a flash of red. And then as the eclipse moves to the east, the red is going to shift to the east. You can see in this fourth picture, then it's going to return to daytime conditions and again nighttime conditions. So let me pull up the GIF right now, which is here. Um, hmm, I'm sorry. One second. I'm sorry. Thought I had the GIF pulled up. Okay. Well, let's see if it's weird. I'm sorry. It might take a second to load, but yes. Essentially, you should see the change in intensity of these signals over time and see the eclipse affect this intensity. Okay. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Okay, so here's a GIF. And you might have to watch a little bit carefully for the flash of red just because I am showing it a little bit fast. But that's because it would be extremely slow if I didn't show it fast. So let's play it.
This is
Oh,
nighttime right
transition.
now.
Yes. Now we're transitioning into daytime. And this is the eclipse. That was a flash of red. So now we're going back into nighttime conditions. And when there's a flash of white, the video restarts. So we can watch that a few more times, but Professor LaBelle, if you have any extra comments
I
about
think it's kind
the
of fun.
video.
I think when you
Yeah.
see the nighttime come back, you can kind of see it going east to west, like the Terminator. There's a suggestion that it starts in the east, then goes west. And the eclipse, there's of course a suggestion of the reverse, that it goes
Yeah.
west to east.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you certainly can see it go east to west from nighttime to daytime. Then the eclipse goes the opposite way. And then when it goes back to nighttime, goes east to west again.
yeah, doesn't
Definitely
take too
in
much
there.
imagination.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the hope is that you could do this study with way more stations identified. As Sophia said, it was rather painstaking to identify each station because
Yeah.
the only hints we had were on and off times, offset frequency, and proximity to our various receivers. Those were the only three hints we could use. But this is
Yeah, it was
where
John
maybe the
Ackerman
community
who pointed
help.
out, yeah, it was, both the medium wave community and our data. We got the big surprise that during the day, all these stations that are supposed to be on clear channels, there are a bunch of stations that are on during the day because they're not supposed to propagate. So you get this forest of stations that aren't normally there at night and make it very difficult to identify um, which one you're actually looking at and trying to focus in on. So that was one of the
One thing I
biggest problems.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask the community as a whole is, one important clue is the turn on and turn off times of the stations. And certainly it's possible to tell, like, whether it's central time zone or eastern time zone often from that. But presumably stations keep exact logs of when they turn on and off, and that those logs could be important for station identification. But unfortunately, I've found that I've tried to call these stations. I've never succeeded in reaching someone there to have them, check their log. And one thing that concerns me is they only are required to keep the log for 2 years. So in April of 26, these logs could start disappearing. But I was just wondering if the community has any ideas how to contact these stations or how to better like rope in this information, because it could be, we have a lot of more stations we could add to this if we could make more identifications.
Okay. The the primary thing is that you're talking about daytime stations, correct? Stations that have a
Yes,
license only for the daytime. Um,
that is
okay. The FCC has a chart on a 15-minute basis, I believe, based on sunrise and sunset. And so each daytime station is supposed to either sign on or increase their power at a given time each month. Um, so you can, you should be able to zero in, and we've certainly, like the medium wave DXing people have been doing this for a long time. You should be able to zero in on what your possible targets are by when they come up at a certain time of the like at an individual month. Um, and in fact, if you like if you do some more recording on the following month, just to using that and the offsets, you may be able to say, okay, well, this station has now started to sign on or sign off at a different time in May, for example. And that, limits the possibilities now. as to which station you're looking at. But the FCC defines when those stations are supposed to sign on and sign off. Now, whether or not they
Yes.
do, that's a whole other thing. You might be able to find from the medium wave DXing people whether there are people who are recording at that time, but I think you just have to rely on what the FC says that they are supposed to do that month.
Yep. Yes, we were able to see you can definitely tell an Eastern time zone from a Central time zone station very clearly because they turn on and off an hour later or whatever. My hope was that individual stations might record the exact time that they happen to have turned off on that day, like 9:16 instead of 9:15 or something. And that would then be a hint for getting that station. Problem is, of course, there's ambiguity between many stations in the same time zone that have the same frequency, and so those can be hard to tell apart. And the
Yeah.
offsets, the MF website they give some offsets, but they don't give comprehensive offsets for all the stations. So
No,
yeah, it's a tough puzzle.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's all. That's all. Yep. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
leave in a minute, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The offset list is done by volunteers, and and some of them are quite old as well, so they may not be up to date. But yeah, no, there's a lot of so as you say, ambiguity, and it's just hunting for clues, to zero in
Mhm.
Yeah.
on,
Yep.
and then using programming, just all sorts of details. It's
Mhm.
not it's not an easy
Yep.
puzzle.
Nick,
Yep.
I
Yep.
had
It is a
not known
puzzle.
about that chart that you're talking about. Could you send us a link to that?
Yeah, I'll see what I'll see what I can find, but if you look at the FCC data set itself, it actually has that chart embedded in the collection of data they have for each individual station.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'll take a look
Yeah, I
at it.
think I've seen that before. You have to click on the individual station.
Right.
It's a little bit awkward.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I'll get in touch with you after the session, David.
Great.
Let's see. I'm gonna have to sign off, unfortunately, guys,
Yeah.
because I had the opportunity for a doctor's appointment. A cancellation came up, and you have to jump on those. So I will be interested. I'll hear from David and Sophia how the rest of the discussion goes.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, just to kind of fill in if you're not aware of what our experiment is, we have a series of instruments, receivers throughout the eastern US, picking up AM broadcast stations. And the primary purpose is to pick up Doppler shifts during the nighttime propagation, but realized that we would have a unique opportunity during this eclipse to see what changes there are during the daytime. And as I mentioned, John Ackerman was actually the first to point out, wait a minute, there's this huge forest of stations that we don't normally get at night because turns out there's no such thing as a clear channel station anymore during the day. Clear channels keep their power day and night, but there are a whole bunch of other stations that are allowed to broadcast during the day because presumably it doesn't propagate. And then, as we're mentioning, they're supposed to either turn off completely or go down to flea power. Some of them go to like 100 watts at night. And so using that, we're hoping we can identify the individual stations in this forest. But each one also does have a unique frequency profile because none of them, they don't seem to be GPS locked. They've got quartz oscillators that each have their own unique characteristics.
And what resolution do you have there, Jim?
Jim dropped off.
Sorry.
He had to
Yeah.
go to an appointment. But trying to think it's pretty fine. I mean, we're picking up sub-tenth hertz variations.
Yeah,
I can't remember what FFT we're using.
okay. Because I think the medium wave list offsets I think are only good to point one hertz.
Oh yeah, they're much grosser than what we measure, so that's certainly. Yeah, we found those offsets not to be all that helpful, it seems, because as you say, they're old but the basic principle of this experiment too, one of the basic principles is we have a receiver hopefully picking up ground wave. So we get a good clean copy of the actual broadcast frequency, and then we can subtract that from the skywave. Our previous student, Claire Trope, did a very good paper on that was just recently published.
And your receive points were the Dartmouth AM Doppler receivers that each have a GPS. Right?
Correct. Yes. Now, what's interesting, Nick gave us the medium wave data that was taken during the eclipse. We have not incorporated that in yet, but presumably that will have much the same information.
Yeah, I think you'll find that some of those are locked to GPS, and yeah, I think because there are other locations, you may well be able to sort of dig further clues out from
Right.
that other data set. But yeah, um, it's quite a puzzle. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
Um,
But
one-
isn't that what science is?
oh yeah, very
It's one
definitely.
big puzzle.
Yeah, no, it's trying to pick the signal out of the noise.
Yep. As well as the awareness that one man's noise is another man's signal.
Yeah, it was an excellent presentation. The video is really quite dramatic. Nice job, Sophia.
Yes, thank you, Sophia. Well done. Sophia
Thank you
did
so
this.
much.
The original presentation was a poster for our Dartmouth has a lot of undergraduates working in research, and there's it's called the Karen Vetterhan Symposium at the end of the year. She was a chemistry professor who unfortunately passed away doing research on methyl mercury, and she got poisoned somehow. But in her honor, it's a presentation of undergraduate research, and there are like well over 100 posters given. And Sophia put up a poster on this, and then we asked her to turn it into a PowerPoint presentation, which she did very well here. So I wonder, Sophia, if you could forward the poster to me. Do you have that in PDF?
I can make it into a PDF, so I can forward
What do
to
you have it
yes.
in?
It's just in a Google slide right now, but
Oh, Google. Yeah. If you could make that into a PDF, I can forward it to the group so that they have that.
yeah, of course. If you want, I
That
can
would be
also
great.
send over the actual WISP poster if you would like.
Right.
Would you like me to send the poster or the slides?
Both.
Both?
But
Okay,
yeah, the
awesome.
WISP poster is what I was saying. That would help people um, see what
Yeah. Okay, I
Yeah,
will
the
forward those to
poster
you.
and the slides. Yeah, send that
Okay.
over to me, and I can send it to the group.
Okay, awesome. I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a nice presentation. David, you were saying some differences on the eclipse effect and the day-night in terms of east and west. What was it? Can you repeat it? I
Oh,
did not
well,
catch it much. Yeah.
normal movement of the terminator goes from east to west. But the way the eclipses work, they go west to east.
Yep. So you had that same signature coming in the movie. I did not catch it.
Yeah, it's a little hard to see, but it is in there. But you
Okay.
can see the as it changes from nighttime to daytime. You see the stations go away from east to west. Then the
Okay.
eclipse passes through quickly, and then as it goes back from daytime to nighttime, you see the signals, the normal nighttime signals return east to west.
Okay. And was there any embedded information on how the eclipse went along the track? Like in terms of the intensity, it increased more in the southern side first and then in the northern side, following the track?
I'm not sure that we've analyzed that, but
Okay.
it's a good question.
Okay. Thanks. That was nice. Thank you. Thanks,
Mhm.
Jeff. Yeah, thank you, Doug.
Thanks. If there are no other questions, I guess back to Rachel.
Okay.
I actually have one question for visualization, but Sophia, can I get your email address and I'll just ask it that way?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
I'll just spell it out for you. So SOPHIA
Mm-hmm.
dot M dot WONG dot 2828
Mm-hmm.
at Dartmouth.edu.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Sophia? Okay. Minutes. I haven't quite deleted all of the old business, but I did want to slim things down a little bit, so I shoved that into the contents folder that I sent out, and I'll probably try to restructure that. Does anyone have any announcements for today? Bill, any updates?
Let's see. I'm still waiting on the high performance computing center people to get the new server ready. I think we know what the URL is going to be. Today it's pswsnetwork.caps.ua.edu. Looks like what they're going to change it to is pswsnetwork.eng.ua.edu. So it's going out from under CAPS. It can be part of the engineering department. But don't change URLs just yet. That server still isn't ready. I can't guarantee we won't have an interruption in availability, but it is what it is. Also, we've been doing some experiments with some people who have Grape One legacy systems. That is the Grape One systems that collect using FLDigi and report to WWV Club server. I'm looking for a couple more volunteers to be beta testers for the conversion process to change those sites so they upload to the PSWS network. So I'm looking for a couple more volunteers on that. I've been working with a couple folks, but I would like to get a couple more people involved in that. So
Yeah, Bill, I should be back on in next week, so I'll get in touch with you. But
in 6 weeks,
1 week, next
1
week.
week. Okay, yeah. Get in touch with you then. We'll work on it. Thank you. That's all I had.
Bill, I went out to make the changes yesterday and I realized I didn't have the let's see, what are the files? The uploader v4 grape, the Python script, and then the xfer2 repo shell.
I will send you those. That was an oversight in our first go round on this. And
Yeah,
actually,
I got there and suddenly realized, oh, I can't find them anywhere.
actually W7LUX alerted us to this, that those files were nowhere to be found. So I got
I don't feel so bad now.
from Bill Blackwell, and I will send you a copy of those. You have to edit
Perfect.
them. You have to customize them. But
Yeah,
there's
that's in the
instructions on how to
instructions.
do that.
There. Yeah, yeah.
I'll send you the updated
Recording
instructions. Okay, back to Nick.
Thank you.
Rob, any updates?
Yeah, I hope you hear me now. No, that stuff. I think what we're, I don't think there's anything new for me to report in our world. Been struggling with our Whisper Demon database world. I think that Bill and we're going to have a online meeting tomorrow to discuss security and remote access issues getting to PSWS. I think currently it appears that the password logins have been disabled. So existing sites can log in that have already set up auto login with pre-shared keys, but new sites cannot. Their password login attempts are rejected. So I think that if you're going to add new sites, we're going to need to get password logins re-enabled or come up with a different way to just distribute login credentials.
Yeah, well, just for clarification, it should still be possible using a station ID and token to do SFTP.
Well, that's if you and it all works if you've set up auto login and have a pre-share key.
Rob, you have two windows open, two mics open.
Hello. All right. Okay. I'm just trying to get my. Whoops. I got to turn this off.
Okay. We have like terrible internet and cell service in the building.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
But I don't know if that explains why you can't get into the phone.
Okay, maybe this is better.
There you go.
Sorry, I thought I'd muted things. The pre-share queue works, and I think, and you can SSH and log into your account. You can still do that if you've already uploaded your public key. But if you have not uploaded your public key, you can't do anything unless you. So, if George Burkett was setting up some new Whisper Demon grape systems, and he can't. They can't upload.
Yeah, I guess the Whisper Demon is dependent upon passwordless access then?
Only the first time. Once you upload once it uploads its key, it uses the pre-shared key auto login mechanism.
Well, I got an email from Bill Blackwell yesterday that the way I read it sounds like there is a solution for that. I'm going to get with Bill and see if I can get him to attend the security discussion, and maybe he can share that.
There are two separate issues. One can restrict what programs a user can run when they log in, and there's the other settings of what a mechanism is used for authentication. So there are two potential mechanisms that SSH daemon supports. One is a password-based login, and the other is a pre-shared key. Well, because the PSWS dashboard provides the token, which is the which is a password. That is the mechanism that is available to new users. An existing a user who previously was able to log in and upload their key can continue to upload because they have a pre-shared key on their account on the PSWS server. But I mean, you can if you have access to the SSHD configuration file, you can see how it's set up. I think I sent you a line in that file that defines whether passwords are enabled.
Well, it's not just passwords. You also have to have the shared keys enabled so that they'll work after the password has been exchanged and you've uploaded keys.
Yeah, that's.
And so it's twofold. And I've got an older system that was commissioned a year ago, and everything works fine on it, and have spun up 2 more boxes recently. And the configuration process that had previously worked for Rob doesn't anymore. We tried to debug it, and we concluded that there were facts beyond our ability to know about where we were logging into that we needed to loop Bill in on and figure out what's going on and what the way forward is. And if Bill's security guy has a good plan, we can implement code and shell scripting to make any reasonable mechanism work once it's defined.
Yeah, unfortunately, my security guy is gone for the summer. We'll be back at the end of August, but we can figure something out.
Yeah.
Well, you have administrative access, right? Root access on that
Yes.
server?
Yeah.
Well then, okay. Well, I can, we can walk you through the process. I don't know why it would have been changed. The permitted login mechanisms, I don't know why they would have been changed on your server.
Well, the other interesting question is it intentional that the token is the same for all stations registered under the same web login user?
No, that should not be the case. So
It does seem to be the case, and perhaps it's also part of the problem.
I have a feeling that might be the case. That might be the problem, one of the problems.
Yeah, so and being a person with one website login in multiple stations, I have the opportunity to observe that.
My understanding is that right now that each device, in our case, was for Demon Grade, each of those has to be report to a different station. So really, in practice, you cannot have multiple devices reporting to the same account.
Well, it's using the same login token or password for each station under the same user.
I mean, the personal weather station, I mean, the server has individual Linux user accounts for each station.
Right. And multiple stations could have the same password.
Oh, yeah, but those are issued by I guess, a script that when you
This sounds like a
on the
bug.
server.
This sounds like a bug, though. Each station have a unique token.
Yeah,
If the intention was unique, it's doing it unique by user, and since it's the same user, I think the original goal isn't being met, perhaps. Easy enough to know.
Yeah, I'll review the email that Bill Blackwell sent me on this, come up to speed on that. I'll also invite him, see if he can attend as well, but
yeah, you can
we'll work it.
Yeah, feel free to choose choose a different time tomorrow morning if you. I've just changed the meeting time a half hour later, but you know, I'm available for most of the day tomorrow.
Same here.
Same here.
Anyway, I don't I don't know that there are any new stations being set up other than these Whisper Demon Grape stations. So you may not be seeing this problem, hearing from others because nobody's trying to set up a new site.
Yeah, we had noted this before, that if you set up two stations in rapid succession, somehow something carries over and it gives you the same token the second time, but it's not supposed to. So that's one of those things we'll just have to get fixed.
Okay.
Well, those are I think two separate problems. There's a passwords are the same problem, and the password logins don't work, which is the second problem. Okay, well, I think that's all we have to discuss on this topic until tomorrow's meeting.
Okay. Christina, do you have any updates?
No updates here, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns, or business? All right. 73, everyone.
73 all.
73 later. Thank you, Sylvia.
7-3.